All right, let's cut straight to it. There's an ongoing debate in the Amazon FBA world that could make or break your profits for 2025. Is it private labeling or wholesaling that's going to give you the best returns as a business model? Some people out there are even saying that one of these models might be on the way out. So if you're looking to build real income with Amazon, you've got to understand which of these models will put you in the best position for long-term success. And if you're wondering why you should listen to me, my name's Michael. I own multiple Amazon brands generating over $2 million a year in revenue. After years of obsessing over what works and what doesn't in the Amazon space, I'm here to share with you the insights that have actually made me successful. So let's dive into this together. Here's a look at what my sales have been looking like recently. Albeit it is Q4, so sales are always going to be a little bit greater during this time period, but this is a look from just one of our brands. So in today's video, we're gonna be diving deep into which Amazon business model, private label or wholesale, will be the most profitable as we head into 2025. This isn't just theory, we're gonna be breaking down key factors like profitability, scalability, and risk. And to make sure this is super practical, I'll use a real example comparing a brand like JBL Bluetooth speakers to a private label competitor. If you've been looking to get serious about your Amazon business, this video will give you the roadmap. So stick around because one of these models has a hidden risk that could change the way you think about scaling your business. Let's start by breaking down what each of these models is actually about. The private label model is all about creating and owning your own brand. And so here's how it works. You identify a profitable niche, find a generic product, and work with the manufacturer to make it your own. Private label allows you to control everything from the design to the price, and you're the one building the customer relationship. So here's a bit of an overview of the process. You wanna start by identifying profitable niches with high demand and low competition. You wanna find a manufacturer, often overseas, to make your product with custom branding, and then develop a unique brand identity, including logos, packaging, and marketing materials. Create high quality listing with optimized keywords, images, and copy, and then use Amazon PPC, social media, and other channels to drive traffic. So the pros are you control the pricing, so you keep more of the profit. Building a brand also creates a long-term customer loyalty and can boost your asset value if you ever wanna sell. And then since your product is unique, you're not in a constant price war with identical listings, as long as you are actually differentiating your product. And developing a product and building a brand does take time. If your product doesn't resonate, you could be stuck. But if you're careful with research and product differentiation, even a failure usually means you break even or recoup your costs over time. I've had 2 failures when I first started, and my first one, I lost about $6,000 because it ended up being restricted. So in that case, I ended up losing all of my money initially, but my second product, it sold well, but profits were slim. And so we broke even or maybe lost a little bit over $1,000. And so you're not always gonna lose everything you have most of the time if you're doing private label and you have a product that doesn't end up selling amazing. Wholesale, on the other hand, is all about selling existing well-known brands on Amazon by buying their products in bulk from authorized suppliers. So here's how it goes. So set up business accounts with reputable suppliers. You choose items with proven sales and high demand, buy inventory at wholesale prices, jump onto existing listings so you don't have to create new ones from scratch, and compete with other sellers on price. Here are some of the pros. You're selling products that already have a customer base. Well-known products sell faster, leading to quicker cash flow. Since the brand is established, there's less advertising that's needed. Now, the cons are lower margins, right? Price competition can push down your profit, and there's a lot of price wars. Competing on the same listing means you're likely to end up in price wars. Supplier restrictions. Some brands are strict about who can sell their products on Amazon. I know quite a few people who have done wholesale before who might be at the level where they're doing $50,000 to $100,000 per month, and they get shut down instantly because a supplier all of a sudden doesn't want them to be reselling their product. And so you're not really in control. All right, so both models sound promising, right? But here's the twist. One of these models has a hidden risk that most people completely overlook, yet it can absolutely tank your profits. Keep watching because in the next section, we're going head to head on profitability, market trends, and why one model might be a better choice for you in 2025. This is where the rubber meets the road. Let's talk about what's actually going to bring the cash in 2025. First up, let's talk about some trends that are shaping the future. E-commerce is booming and Amazon is still leading the charge. Consumers are shifting towards personalized niche products, which favors private label sellers who can create unique offerings. For wholesale, Amazon's continued growth means more opportunity, but it also means more competition. Wholesale products on Amazon tend to get saturated quickly, and it's tough to stand out on popular listings. Whereas private label typically has higher margins. Why? Well, because you own the brand, which means you're in control of the price and the cost. If you get the branding right, you can build a loyal customer base that's willing to pay a premium for your product. Plus, it's easier to scale with multiple products under the same brand. For wholesale, it's all about volume. The margins are thinner because you're competing directly with other sellers, so you need to move a lot of product to make a solid profit. Imagine your sales are slowing down because someone else is selling the same product for slightly less. To compete with them, the only thing you can control is reducing your price to either match them or go lower than them. Then when they see you lower the price, the option they have is to lower the price as well. And this just goes on and on until you're barely breaking a profit on each sale. And for a lot of popular brands, you won't be able to control the listing title or description or photos. So there's no way to compete by optimizing these factors. And if you end up changing something that wasn't pre-approved from the brand or Amazon, you could get your account suspended. So both models face risks, but they're different type of risks. Supply chain issues, global events, shipping delays, and production holdups, these can affect kind of both models. Market saturation. For private label, this means the risk of entering an oversaturated niche, which honestly, we can easily avoid during the product research phase by identifying niches that are not overly saturated. Whereas wholesale, it's the intense competition on popular listings. We also have regulatory changes. Amazon's policies and international trade laws can change really at any time. And so staying updated is essential to avoid penalties or sudden product delistings. And keep in mind, Amazon is one of the largest companies in North America. So this is just a nightmare situation that I personally don't think would realistically affect sellers. The amount of money US and Canadian governments generate from Amazon and all the sellers who pay sales tax and income tax, they're heavily incentivized to make sure this doesn't happen. We've talked about profitability, but the big question is, how do these models hold up in the real world with an actual product? Next, we're diving into a Bluetooth speaker case study comparing JBL, which is an established brand in the wholesale model, to a private label competitor. This is going to give you a concrete look at what each model really offers. So this is where the data tells the story. So let's pull up some real-time stats using Amazon and Helium 10 to see what each model can offer. First, let's look up a JBL Bluetooth speaker on Amazon and analyze their sales metrics using Helium 10. And here's kind of what to look for. So monthly sales volume and revenue. So we'll pull up Helium 10 right now. So you can see this specific speaker is doing, for their ASIN level, which means this specific product, is doing $489,000 per month. But what you have to keep in mind is this is across multiple different sellers that are going to be selling this product. And, not going to be 2 or 3 sellers. It could be up to hundreds of sellers sometimes. Not in this specific case, I'll talk about in a second, but it can be. And they're all fighting to sell the product with an average profit margin of 10% typically. So I'm just going to exit out of there and we're going to scroll down. And this is what we call the buy box. And underneath here, we can see that there's new and used 22 different sellers for this specific product. And so if you were doing wholesale, you'd be one of these sellers competing amongst all of these other sellers trying to resell this specific product. And we can actually see multiple people who are selling this product and they're all competing at different prices. And basically most of the time, a combination of both reviews, of course, and then also pricing will have a big role on who's going to win. And it's pretty funny, if we actually take a look, these are all $114.95. So these people are kind of more competing on reviews. But we can actually see as we scroll up, we have $114.95, $114.94, $114.93. And so these people are literally competing on a cent to try and win that buy box, to try and have more sales as a result of being resellers and being in the wholesale model. Now, it's also important to keep in mind sales history and price stability for wholesale, because wholesale stable demand is great. But if the price is frequently going to drop, it could indicate price wars, making it harder to maintain profitable margins. And there are tools that are more specific for wholesale. You can use a tool like SellerAmp to check out whether or not something's going to be worth it. But I wanted to show you that example just using Helium 10 so you could see that although the product itself is making a lot of money every single month, mostly for JBL, that the people who are reselling the products are just in price wars and not making a ton. But now let's do the same analysis with a private label Bluetooth speaker. And so I'm gonna pull up a brand that is called Anker. And we can see that this brand specifically, and this product, I'll just hover over it so you can see, they're doing $390,000 per month. And now the benefit to this is the person who is selling this product is making all of that money, besides obviously Amazon fees and stuff, but they've private labeled this product. This would be, for example, you or I selling this product, and we would be selling that much monthly, which we would be taking home after, of course, there'd be costs of product and fees. And then again, there'd be people trying to do wholesale or reselling our products, and trying to get a little margin from us or a little cut from us, which you can see there's new other sellers, but this is not the brand itself. These are people just trying to come on the listing and resell this product. So I want to mention, if JBL's numbers are strong but margins are slim, this illustrates that the challenges of making significant profits in wholesale due to competition and also pricing restrictions. Whereas with private label, you're in control, you own the brand, you are making those sales back again after the cost of product fees and stuff like that. But you're not competing with a bunch of other sellers on the buy box trying to win just completely on price. You're winning on product. So which model scales better? Let's look at the long-term growth potential, because one of these models can take your business further if you're thinking big. All right, let's get into the strategic side. Choosing the right model isn't just about what's profitable now, but about building a business with staying power. In this section, let's talk about what makes each model unique from a strategic perspective and which might set you up better for the future. To bring in some personal experience here, in a recent TikTok video, I broke down some of the key reasons why I lean heavily towards private label, especially after being in the Amazon game for over 5 years. Let me share some insights I mentioned there and how they can guide your choice. So private label, here's the thing. With private label, you need to have a decent amount of capital up front. I always recommend a minimum of $5,000 to start. And while this high barrier to entry might seem like a downside, it's actually a huge benefit. Why? Because fewer people are willing to take the plunge, which keeps the competition lower, right? Not everyone can invest that much money, and not everyone has the skills to build a brand from scratch. But if you're willing to commit, private label has a huge potential payoff. With wholesale, the startup costs are typically lower, making it easier for people to enter the market quickly. You can start with as little as $1,000, which is appealing if you're just looking to dip your toes in the Amazon world. But here's the trade-off. A lower barrier to entry means more competition, right? You're competing with a lot of other sellers who also have easy access to the same products, which can just drive prices down. Private label is all about building your own brand. And here's where the magic happens. When you own the brand, you're not just another seller on Amazon. You're creating something unique that customers can recognize and trust. In my opinion, branding is the backbone of any successful business. And the sooner you start building a brand, not to mention private label lets you compete on more than just price, right? You can stand out through product differentiation, unique design, and better quality. What you do to make your product stand out is going to be the difference between being a successful seller or someone who struggles to make sales. You can do something like tapping into niche markets, making products accessible to people with certain disabilities, prioritize aesthetics to have a premium design, and so on. Now with wholesale, you're reselling established brands like Colgate, Nike, or JBL, which means you don't have to worry about creating a brand from scratch. However, this also means there's little room for differentiation, right? You're selling the exact same product as other sellers, which leads to constant price competition. It's a race to the bottom because there's not much you can do to make your offer stand out. Many wholesale sellers end up viewing private label as their ultimate goal, but choose wholesale initially because it's cheaper and simpler. So in the long run, private label has strong growth potential because you're building an asset, right? Your own brand. You can expand your product line under the same umbrella, explore new categories, and even consider selling the brand at some point. Creating something that customers trust gives you long-term control over your pricing and customer relationships. A lot of successful Amazon sellers find that after a few years, they're not just managing products, they're managing a brand that can command loyalty and premium pricing. Wholesale, on the other hand, has limited growth potential. You're dependent on the brands you sell, and if your suppliers change their policies or stop selling to you, you're out of luck. Because there's no brand equity in wholesale, it's hard to build a business that stands out in the marketplace. If I had to choose, I'd pick private label every time. Building a brand isn't just more fulfilling in the long run, it's also a smarter, more sustainable strategy. Take a closer look at most wholesale sellers and you'll notice a common trend. Many eventually pivot to private label. Why? Because private label lets you create something truly unique that stands out in the market rather than just being dragged into endless price wars. Instead of competing solely on price, you're competing on the value, quality, and story of your product. And when you get it right, the opportunities for growth and profitability are enormous. For 2025, private label is the clear winner if you're looking for long-term profitability, brand control, and growth potential. With private label, you have the chance to build something that stands out and attracts loyal customers, which isn't always possible with wholesale. Wholesale can be great if you're looking for a faster, lower cost entry into Amazon FBA, but just remember it has its limitations. Let's do a quick review. So PL, high margins, brand equity, and they're able to differentiate through unique products. Wholesale, lower entry cost and faster setup, but with intense competition and limited growth potential. And some recommendations for 2025. If you're a new seller, consider private label if you want to build a brand with staying power and are willing to invest in its development. If you're an experienced seller, if you're already in wholesale, think about making the shift to private label to unlock better profitability and scalability. So if you're ready to dive into private label, check out my video on Amazon FBA product launch checklist for everything you need to get started. Thanks for tuning in, and let's make 2025 your best year yet on Amazon.